part of the motion, you must know that that's not for commercial purpose. I had to personally buy 300 acres for the university starting in my hometown in Osun State. I knew the commercial value would be very low. I had to also buy another 100 acres to plant 2,000 palm trees. It's not the land, but the palm trees. Failing to treat land purchase as an emotional expression can lead to disaster. Failing to use the services of independent and qualified advice from lawyers, land and quantity surveyors, town planners will hurt the business. Purchase hysteria in the marketplace would also cause a lot of problem. So in our experience, successful land banking exercise will impel the following. Number one, you need to look at the direction of demographic growth. A good majority of people who now work in Lagos live in Ogun State, particularly the axis where our land is. Number two, familiarize yourself with current land laws of the land. Many people have bought in places like Lagos, failing to realize that Lagos State, on top of the Land Use Decree 1978, the state government have also passed the 1998 law, which says on Lekki-Epe Expressway, 2 kilometers left, 2 kilometers right are also committed. And many have bought without first reverting to the government. Investigate and know the future developments planned by the state or federal government. There's a lot of argument and shout and cries about demolition, particularly the coastal road. Our company owns a beach on the coastal road, and when we were buying, from the time we bought 20 years ago, we were told that there is a coastal road coming and that it had been established in the books since the 60s. So you could never get documentation on that part of the coastal road. For anyone to now build and blame the government must be playing politics and taking advantage. Do not worry about the interest rate and the state of the economy. Just locate and buy cheaply and wait for it to grow. When banking land, act as if you are buying a business, not just land, not just property. With the African factor of encroachment and constant disputes, because the fact that you have the documentation is not enough. It is wise to hire a reputable, quote unquote, land garden company, particularly if you have land in acres and your land is in a place like Lagos State, Ogun State. You got to have reputable land garden company, or else you come to your land in the morning and find the house has grown overnight. They use generator to build while men slept. As I conclude my address, it is imperative for me to state that if properly harnessed, land banking could provide you with up to 30 or 40% of your new project. Macarius, I do not want to tell you what value it is. Our borrowing is very limited because of the process of land banking elsewhere and using whatever value there to build in Macarius. It has been of great relief to us. It will be of great relief to you. I have discovered that this is a less stressful way of aggregating funding for your future projects. Finally, something that we need will require our government to implement reforms that will help support developers, de-risk the housing delivery process. Like I mentioned, one state has 17 documentations. There are too many landmines in the path of developers on the present dispensation. Government at the federal and state levels must be intentional in creating the right and enabling environment for developers to ply their trade. Thank you for listening. Thank you very much.
Government create an enabling environment. You can make it louder than that, ladies and gentlemen. A round of applause. Please give him a standing ovation. Just to the chairman. The chairman of the opening ceremonies remark, Pastor Ashimolowo, Chairman, Macquarie Properties Limited. In that speech, he shared his experiences, his success stories, and some vital solutions to better real estate sector right here in Nigeria. Please, another round of applause for him, ladies and gentlemen. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to recognize the presence of Professor Samson Duna, DG Nibri. Please, a round of applause for him. Also, quickly, Honorable Dr. Martin Ikpe, a highly respected economist, is also here. Please, a round of applause for him. We also want to recognize the presence of Mr. Odunayo Ojo, MD CEO UPDC. A round of applause. Professor Timothy Nubi, he's a professor in housing. He's also here. Please, a round of applause for him. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have Dr. Said Kori, Chairman Think Lab. Please, a round of applause for him. Builder Ewa, President, Nigeria Institute of Building, is here. Please, a round of applause for him. Help me recognize the presence of the President, Mortgage Banking Association of Nigeria. A round of applause. The MD CEO, NMRC, Kehinde Ogundimi. Okay, we've recognized him before. Once again, you're welcome, sir. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to know that this summit is jointly organized in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. Please put your hands together for that ministry. The Africa International Housing Show, ladies and gentlemen, is a summit where we exchange ideas and discuss the latest trends in the sector. It is also a place where various problems are discussed and, of course, the solutions are reached. And we've heard some solutions on how we can better the housing sector in this country by the chairman of the opening ceremony, Pastor Matthew Ashimolowo. Your Excellencies, I'd like to tell you that over and over again in the past editions of the Africa International Housing Show, they have clamored for a standalone ministry of housing, saying that it is cumbersome to have the Ministry of Housing and the Ministry of Works together because of the responsibilities of both ministries being handled by one person. And at the end of the day, nothing really is achieved. But for the first time, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu made that distinction and made it possible for the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development to be alone. And right here with us today, we have the first Minister of Housing and Urban Development in Nigeria. Please put your hands together for the Honorable Minister, no other but Ahmed Musa Dangiwa, as he comes up for his ministerial speech. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Please sit down. Thank you very much, Chairman. The Vice President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Senator Kashim Shettima, ably represented by the Honorable Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edun, who confirmed to me he's in the Senate and he will join us soon. The Senate President, His Excellency Dr. Godsus Akpabio, ably represented by my Deputy Chairman, House Committee on Housing and Habitat, Senator Victor Ume, the Speaker, House of Representatives, Dr. Tajuddin Abbas, ably represented by my Chairman, House Committee on Housing and Habitat, Right Honorable Abdulmumin Jibrin, Doctor, the Honorable Minister of State, Federal Minister of Housing and Urban Development, His Excellency Alhaji ATM Gorzo, the Permanent Secretary, Federal Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Dr. Marcus Ogumbi, the Chairman of the 2024 Abuja Africa International Housing Show, Pastor Mr. Matthew Oshimolowo. It's a very good lecture we have had you from now. Thank you. The MD CEO of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, Alhaji Shehu Usman Osidi, and the executive directors here are seated with us. The MD CEO of the NMRC, Mr. Kainde Ogundimu, the Surveyor General of the Federation, Mr. Abdulganiyu Adeyemi Adeduran, members of the diplomatic corps here with us, most especially our host yesterday, the UK ambassador, other stakeholders within the housing sector that included the president of the Association of Housing Corporation of Nigeria, the president and members of the REDEN, Real Estate Developer Association of Nigeria, and some reputable developers here present. The president and the executive members of the Mortgage Bankers Association of Nigeria, IMBA, and some reputable mortgage bankers here present. I can see ASO Savings here with us. The organizers of this event, the board and management of the Africa International Housing Show, industry experts, the presidents or representatives of the professional bodies in the built environment, Nigeria Institute of Town Planners, Nigeria Institute of Architects, Nigeria Institute of Estate Surveyors and Planners, Architecture Registration Council of Nigeria, Nigeria Institute of Builders, representative of the state governments and the honorable commissioners of housing, the heads of agencies here present, which I cannot mention, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. First, I would like to commend the organizers of the Africa International Housing Show for putting together the event once more. I acknowledge that they have been consistent in bringing together housing industry stakeholders, policy experts, government and private players to this annual gathering to discuss, share ideas, and define solutions to tackling the Africans' housing challenge. Today is the 18th Africa International Housing Show. Congratulations. Barrister Festus Adebayo, who has been a lawyer, has turned into a real estate developer. Well done for the good job that you and your team have been making in the housing industry, not only in Nigeria, but across Africa. This year's theme, the housing we need, a brilliantly selected. I have gone through the entire program and can see that the agenda topics are crafted around not only in the way that the key housing industry issues that are of interest to us. This includes building resilience and sustainable infrastructure, setting the port, minding the gap, financing for low-income earners, data, innovative solutions, local building materials, manufacturing, effective and land management, and prop tech, amongst others. Beyond the subject matter, we also have here at this conference some of the best minds and brains and authorities in the housing sector. I want to applaud you all for traveling locally and internationally over long distances to participate in this event. It is my belief that this forum will produce insightful solutions and actionable conclusions that will add to our individual and collective efforts to update the delivery of affordable housing to our citizens across Africa. With limited financing, it is important for us as a continent to adopt a ground-up approach and domestic strategy that takes us into consideration the peculiarities of our housing needs. This will help us in developing sustainable and resilient housing solutions that meet the needs of our people. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as you are all aware, housing is a basic need and the right of every human being. However, while housing is a right, access to it depends on the financial ability of individuals and the capacity and will of government to intervene to create the enabling environment for its provision. We all know that the current state of housing in our continent is far from where it ought to be. Last month, I was in Kenya. Someone was saying it's 51 million, out of which Nigeria has a deficit of over 50% of 28 million. Today, I heard it's almost 90-something million. We know all that the current state of housing in our continent is far from where it ought to be. We have a dual challenge of inadequate housing supply to meet the population growth and substandard housing which does not meet the conditions of habitability, safety, security, comfort, sanitation, and accessibility according to the World Health Organization, or to meet the requirements of the World Health Organization and the UN. So it's a coincidence, it's a continued problem in Nigeria, for example. Recent surveys show that 75 of the 42 million housing units we have are substandard. This means that our housing delivery strategies must include urban renewal and slab upgrading, and then also the building of new houses to address the housing solutions or challenges we are having. For us at the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, this is the line of path we have taken. More so, it's important for us always to keep in mind that the issues of housing sector cannot be tackled in isolation. They cut across the entire housing value chain that one of the speakers or the last speaker has said, from land to infrastructure deficit to housing construction to high construction cost, household demand, inadequate access to affordable financing options, amongst others. So in Nigeria, while we acknowledge these challenges, we are occupied that we are encouraged that we can make difference in our time. Since August 2023, when we came on board, we have adopted a value chain approach to fixing Nigeria's housing problems. We have developed and have commenced the implementation of reforms that will help us rewrite the housing and urban landscape. In January this year, we inaugurated 4 housing reform task teams, focusing on producing a blueprint that will guide us in improving land governance, strengthening federal housing agencies, such as the Federal Housing Authority and the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, and ensuring that they leverage their collective capacities to increase the stock of housing, affordable housing in Nigeria. Another area of focus is encouraging the local manufacturer of building materials. We aim to establish building material manufacturing hubs in each of the 6 geopolitical zones across the country so that we can lower the cost of construction materials and housing delivery. We are actively seeking partnerships towards the delivery of these hubs, and we open to partnerships from technically and financially capable institutions. At the housing sector, reform task teams are in the process of finding or finalizing their reports, and we are poised to examine and implement these reforms or recommendations to move the housing sector forward in our country. We have also started implementing the Renewed Hope Cities and Estates program, where we aim to deliver a total of 50,000 housing units across Nigeria under Phase 1. The cities are to have 1,000 plus housing units per site in one location in each of the 6 geopolitical zones of the country and FCT, while the estates will have 250 housing units per site in the remaining 30 states of the Federation. So far, we have done groundbreaking for a total of 6,612 homes in 13 states across Nigeria. The Renewed Hope Cities target all income brackets with 1, 2, and 3 bedroom block of flats, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom terraces, 4 and 5 bedroom duplexes. The Renewed Hope Estates are designed for low and medium income earners with 1, 2, and 3 bedroom semi-detached bungalows. We use organic designs where 1 bedroom can be expanded to 2 and 3 bedrooms as the income of beneficiary increases over time. The funding for these projects is from a mix of the budgetary allocations, the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, and the public-private partnership with reputable developers and the Family Homes Funds Limited. Sustainability is also a key part of our Renewed Hope Cities and Estates program. We have incorporated green design measures to ensure that the cities and estates are climate smart and environmentally friendly. As you may be aware, Nigeria has about 220 million population with an annual growth of 2.5% per annum. Therefore, we'll have a huge housing deficit that requires to build 550,000 housing units annually over the next 10 years. This will require about 5.5 trillion naira annually, equivalent to about $300 billion US. So the 50,000 housing units we plan to deliver is relatively ambitious given our history in housing stock development. However, it is a very small when we place it side by side with the 550 housing units projected required per annum. I see this gap not only as a social necessity, but as a business opportunity for investors and our partners to make a profitable impact. That's why we are secondly looking for to PPPs and collaboration with housing development finance institutions, investors, and partners across the globe. We have adopted a demand-driven approach to our housing delivery strategy to avoid the issues of abandoned or completed but unsold buildings. Recently, we launched an online housing portal to ease the process of acquiring the houses. With this online portal, we have streamlined the process for the marketing and sale of these houses being built under the Renewed Hope Cities and Estates program. And the result that we have seen so far have been very exciting, with over 28,000 applications, subscriptions recorded since its launch last month. This is helping us to plan. It also underscores the importance of data and adopting driven approach to housing delivery. The location, viability, access to infrastructure, and livability are the heart of our considerations for choosing project sites. That's why most of the state governors will always emphasize that for you to give us land to deliver projects in your state, the site must be accessible, that is very much reachable. This is to ensure that we are building where there is effective demand so as to ensure quick offtake. We have also expanded the ministry's because the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, we have expanded the ministry's urban renewal and slum upgrade program. Under Phase 1 of the slum upgrading program, the ministries has projects ongoing in the total of 26 sites nationwide. The key services provided at the identified sites include water supply, solar, street lighting, rehabilitation of access roads, construction of drainages, and waste management and sanitation services, amongst others, most especially in the slum areas. Here too, we welcome partnerships that will help to scale up these components of our housing delivery. It is a very important one with massive capacity for impact across the millions of households only seeking to live a better environment. Also in line with the Mr. President's renewed hope agenda to ensure that all Nigerians, all those with no income, vulnerable, and groups have access to decent and dignified accommodation, we are working to establish the National Social Housing Fund. Potential sources of funding we intend to drive is that budgetary allocations, executive order, and through tax incentives, private sector donations, and telecom USSDs, development financial institutions, including housing development as part of our land reforms, which is very key to housing development. We are exploring partnership with the World Bank towards the implementation of the National Land Registration and Titling Program, 50% in the next 10 years, because we have it on record that less than 10% of that capital line follow. So the Honorable Minister of Housing and Urban Development, I go to work every day with my Honorable Minister of State, Alhaji Tijani Gorzo, fully aware of the challenges that these issues have been long-standing and have persisted over decades. However, we do not feel overwhelmed because we believe that leadership is an organization who believe that they can add value to send us partnerships, process proposals for considerations. We are open to our expertise, concessionary financing, and knowledge in our own theories. The air conditioning environment that we are sitting, the beauty of the atmosphere, we must remember that we are here for the interests of the poor brothers who are living in informal settlements, Africans who have been evicted because they cannot afford next rent, all those who are living in places whose no decent sanitation, or those who cannot afford to make a 10% down payment for a house to own a mortgage. We must not, or rent on. We must not lose sight of this heavy duty that is on our heads. We are the ones to find solutions to their challenges. Mr. Festus and his team have put together this platform so that we can share ideas and also learn from our experiences, just as the chairman of the occasion gave us his own wonderful experiences in land banking, and be better armed to make a difference in our various space and areas of impact and influence. I remember immediately he sat down, 2 or 3 people came to tell him, sir, I want to come and see you after this conference. Maybe they want to tap from that experience of land banking. Let us participate fully, take the ideas and insights, and leave this place with the resolve to make tangible differences in housing delivery in our countries. Here at the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, we are ready, willing, and open to ideas, partnership, collaborations that will help us fix systemic challenges and expand quality housing to all. Thank you all, and I wish you a productive session. Thank you very much.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for him. Please give him a standing ovation. Architect Ahmed Musa Dangiwa, FCIB, FNIA, FNIOB. And of course, in his words, 50,000 houses to be delivered across Nigeria. And he says, we are here for the interest of the poor, and we must not lose sight of the heavy duty on our heads. Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for him for that wonderful speech, reeling out the plans of Mr. President for Nigerians as it concerns housing. Another round of applause, please. May I quickly recognize the presence of the DG National Population Commission, DG, Mr. Ojodun Telsin Osifo. Please, a round of applause for him. And also the President of Redan, Akintoye Adeoye. Please, a round of applause for him, ladies and gentlemen. To take us further, I also like to recognize the presence of Lieutenant Colonel Eche, Nigeria Army Post Service Housing Development Limited. Please, a round of applause for him. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to listen to the address by the Honorable Speaker, House of Representatives, His Excellency, Right Honorable Abbas Tajuddin, ably represented by Honorable Abdul Mumin Jibrin, the Chairman, House Committee on Housing and Habitat. Please, a round of applause for him, ladies and gentlemen.
How do I keep my paper here? You use that? Okay, that's fine. The representative, the Senate President, ably represented by the Deputy Chairman, Senate Committee on Housing, Senator Ume, the Honorable Minister of Housing, Architect Dangiwa, the Honorable Minister of State. Let me recognize the organizers of this event under the leadership of Mr. Festus. As usual, I see him going up and Mr. Festus, the Association of Estate Developers, all other professional bodies present here, staff of the ministry, Managing Director, Federal Mortgage Bank, and of course, the chairman of the occasion. I deliberately did that because I've never seen you in Kaftan, always see you every day on television. So when you got up, I said, isn't this one that my wife will every day say, see your friend, because I always sit down to listen to you 30 minutes daily. My biggest challenge here is that all the time, because of protocol, I will have to speak after the minister. And you know the minister is a sweet mouth. When he speaks, he's not hearing me bashing him small. Honorable Minister, I'm on your head. So I said the challenge I always have is all the time I speak after you. And at the moment you speak, it becomes very difficult for me. The speaker has a 2-page speech. I will quickly read it. But just before that, let me pinpoint 3 issues. Since I assumed duty as the chairman housing, I think very quickly we went down to work, and I practically have engaged all the sectors, the agencies involved in the sector, and I think the last engagement we had is with the estate developers. And maybe probably, of course, Morphe, that we are going to engage them this week. Now, there's the traditional problem that we all know. The Land Act, Land Use Act, generally issues of land, the issues of mortgage, so many issues like that that we all know, and we can always reel them out like a national anthem. But in my own analysis of the sector, we have deeper issues, and I will pinpoint 3.